Hello everyone. So today I wanted to share my story about my family, especially my relationship with my mother, and how it did affect me. It did influence my personality. So, uh, as I was growing up, my mother had this really difficult temper. And I mean, she was really caring and sweet. One hour, the other, she became a monster, clearly a monster. She would scream, break things. She would hit me just because I was trying to reach her. She had no patience to deal with me and with my childish behaviors because I was a child. Well, so after a lot of years, when I started my spiritual awakening, I went through some healing, and then when I was prepared, I knew that my grandmother is a witch and that she was casting spells on her, and she had a really, really big curse that made her act like that, especially with me. It was, but also with my mother, my grandmother. She really paid for what she done, but no one knew what was truly happening. I was the one that broke that curse, and I realized that she had this huge, dark demons inside of her that made her really be that person that wasn't mentally stable, that wasn't emotional stable, that was a really, it was a demon. She was really being controlled by demons. I was also too, and but not in the same scale as my mother. And I used to have this really bad behavior, especially towards my grandmother, because somehow in a subconscious way, I knew she was evil, and I always knew that. I always felt that, but she was really manipulative, and the demons are really manipulative. So she always portrayed herself as a good one, as the sweet one, as the one that was giving, and she did. She gave. When I asked for something, she would give me. Sometimes she said no. She was really. She had the really manipulative traits, and she always made us feel guilty for speaking, for pointing her mistakes. When she was doing something that hurt us or that was insulting, was hurting, she would say how much she have done for us, how ungrateful we were, and how they were being unjust. They were how we were being unjusted. She was being unjusted. She was being mistreated by us for saying that she was doing something wrong. She didn't accept that. She was really she had to be right all the time. Yeah. So I just wanted to focus more on my relationship with my mother. While I was growing up, my mother used to have these attacks that now I know that were demon possessions. And she never really developed her emotional maturity, okay? And I understand why. My grandmother was really... She wanted to have control over her, and she always has, even though she hasn't noticed. And I was doing my inner healing, and I remember one thing. When I was younger, I don't know what age I was, but maybe 3 or 4. My mother went on a date with some guy. I just remember it was a dark place, and I was really scared, and I tried to leave. I wanted to leave. And they started to make out, and I was between the both of them, trying to, and they squeezed me like against each other, and I was like, what the fuck? And I said, stop. Then my mother hated me, and I was in a corner crying and in despair, because I wanted to leave that place, and I couldn't. And we only left like later on, because I was crying compulsively. After that, I don't have any memory of she taking me on dates like while I was a child. And I think she did that for protection after, because she realized that wasn't a good thing to share with a child, you know. Yeah. And maybe I got to tell my grandmother. I don't know. I don't remember. But maybe. I don't remember. And that was really traumatizing for me. Really, really traumatizing. So after that, while we were growing up, I remember I was always eager for Christmas because I got presents, and I got to do the Christmas tree, and it was a good part of the year. And because every single day was unstable, I used to go with marks to the school, because my mother used to do this to me in my forehead, like with the nails squeezing. I was really sad, but I really tried to make myself happy around everyone else. I didn't want to share my problems at home. I thought they were minor, I thought they were, it wasn't going to affect me. I didn't want to bring my problems over my school life or anything. While I was growing up, my mother found a partner for her, which was my stepdad. My stepdad was much older than her, and he had a stable job and a house. And we went. She prepared an escape from my grandmother's house, and I escaped with her to her house, to a new house with her stepdad. Yeah, it was. She told me we would have a new beginning, a new life, whatever. Well, we went there, and I thought, okay, maybe she's not living with my grandmother. Maybe she can be less angry, less problematic, less the crisis of anger that she had while she was screaming and breaking things could slow down, like she was in a relationship. So, like, and with the man around also could help that to get better. Yeah, I thought so, but it didn't happen. It was worse. So I went there. My stepdad was, it treated me right. He never, screamed at me. He was really calm and stuff. But my mother started to do some really big raid scenes from jealousy. And she would say my stepdad has an affair with the neighbor and has an affair with this and that, and that he was playing her, like the clown. She was a clown in her hands. He didn't want it to do anything in the house, and I can understand that maybe she was right in some things, but the reaction she had made her look the bad one, the evil one. Well, she was controlled by demons, but there are some aspects that are just herself. It's not the demons, it's herself. And she has narcissistic traits as my grandmother has. She doesn't realize it, but she does. So whenever she was doing this and stuff, she never really got responsible. She never assumed the responsibility for the bad actions, she had. And for her, it was okay to treat us like that. Then things started to escalate after they got really married. They married in the paper, and then she started to have these fights, she started to say that she would burn the house and started to put alcohol around the house, and was with matches and in her hand to say it would burn everything and everyone inside of the house. And she got pregnant also. She was doing this while she was pregnant. And after the born of my sister Monica. And for me it was like, I can't stand to live like this. I can't stand to live like this. And while she was fighting one day, she told me I wasn't her daughter anymore. She had another one recently. I said, okay. It got me, like in the point where it triggered me. And after that, she told me that one more time in a fight and another time. The third time, I said, okay. She left the house after she fought with me and said that there wasn't daughter anymore. And I said, I'm not. So I just packed my bags. My bags was like my just some regular bags. And I went to my grandmother and I said, if you don't take me back in your house, I'm leaving my mother's house. If you don't take me back in your house, I'm going to live in the street, but I'm not going back there. And she said, no, you you're not thinking right, she's a mother, whatever. And I said, no, I will be here if you allow me to. If you don't, I'm going to leave to the streets. I'm not going back there. And I told her how she did, what she did, whatever. So my grandmother got me. I was 1 year without speaking to my mother because I was really upset. I was really sad about that behavior. And after that, with a lot of assistance of my grandmother, we started to talk again. But it wasn't the same. She never called me to say if I was okay. She never called me. Sometimes she sent message to my birthday to say happy birthday. She went spend there the Christmas, but it was sometimes she got me gifts, sometimes she didn't. She always got gifts to my sisters, you know. And after my sister, the middle sister, was born, she had another daughter, which I was able to be there to assist the born moments because she had my sister inside the house. And it was just like when I got there, my stepfather called, and I catch the bus, and I went there immediately. And minutes before I got there, my sister was born. And I got to watch my sister birth. So I started to do things more on my own, and I was with my grandmother. My grandmother wasn't easy to deal with also because she was really pride, and she was always complaining, always insulting me, always making me feel like I wasn't worthy, like I was a complete disaster, you know. And but she didn't scream at me, or at least regularly. She didn't scream, and she neither hit me physically. So my mother used to hit me physically with a belt. That was the most common she used. Sometimes one day she hit me with a tube, a iron tube from a... And it was really hard. Yeah, it was really hard. She wanted to hit him with the chairs, and it was... I went through a lot, believe me. And so I went to my grandmother's house, and then I realized my mother, after years, and I didn't call her because I didn't felt I was really hurt with her. I was really feeling hurt. I was angry, I was disappointed, and I didn't know what happened, spiritually speaking. And so I was really hurt by everything that happened. And all the things that were happening outside also, I was really feeling humiliated. I had to clean that up. Before yesterday, I was cleaning the fear of humiliation because I was really humiliated. I felt really humiliated every time she had these attacks on the streets. Like she pulled my hair, and she would, do this to me, hit me, scream with me. One time I was in the bus, inside the bus. I might be like 7. or 8 years old. And I don't know what I said. I think it wasn't nothing that, but for her it was a trigger. So she started to really hit me in doing this. And a man said to her, "Stop, you cannot hit your child like this. You cannot treat your child like you are treating." And they started to, so my mother started to fight with the man, and the bus stopped, and they went to outside the bus. My mother was biting them, and it was awful. It was awful. I just remember I started to cry. And I was so embarrassed, I was so embarrassed by that. And I just wanted to hide, in a place where no one could know me, no one could see me. It was so embarrassing to me because it was, why would she do something like that? And it didn't make sense to me. And that was really painful and hurtful for me to have to deal with this kind of behavior in such a young age. So, yeah, that was a really painful and traumatized experience for me. So after that, that had a lot of impact in my relationships because I didn't grow up with a father because my father was from Congo, my mother is Portuguese, and they were studying in Ukraine, so there where I was conceived and I was born. But I went here to Portugal with 5 months old, so I didn't get to experience Ukraine as a country, as living there. I always lived in Portugal, and my father went back to his country. But I didn't have any connection with him. I didn't talk with him. I didn't had, I wasn't in touch with my father, so I didn't know him. I had a portrait because my mother saved it to show me, to tell me this is your father or whatever. But she always talked bad about him, and it was a really messy situation. And I felt that I didn't have the protection of a man, of a father figure while I was growing up. So it was really, there were moments I was really scared. It was really painful for me. But I always tried to maintain this image that everything was fine while I was with my colleagues, while I was later on with my friends. And I always tried to appreciate the moment. I always tried to be happy the most that I could. And that after the spiritual awakening, while I was trying to heal my inner child, I was advised to go and make peace with my mother. Yeah. And I was after a situation where I was living in a hostel with a friend, but a friend that was a villain, a true villain. She would steal things, she would manipulating me with black magic and also with words and stories that were fake. just for me to do what she was expecting me for me to do. She humiliated me also while we were there. I was living with her. She did that because I was in a vulnerable situation. It was after I realized my grandmother was a witch, and I went to live by myself for the first time without having any, past experience. So, it was really, I was by myself. So, but that story I have in another previous video. I can bring it up, but I just wanted to bring this up because I had to run from the hostel because I had to run from that woman. She was doing me really hurt, and I went to my grandmother after I knew she was a witch and asked for help. And she said, your mother had you, so your mother is responsible for receiving you. And I went to my mother, and she talked with my mother, and she received me. But while I was there, after all these things happening, I was trying to find a job, and I was searching, and she was saying, like, you are, she was insulting me every single day. She wanted to get rid of me as soon as possible. And she told me I only have 2 daughters. I don't want to be in my house. And that really hurt me. That really hurt me. And that really was... and I said, okay, mother, I'm trying to find a job. As soon as I have a job, I will leave. And then we had, 2 days or 3 days after we had a fight, she was saying that I needed to get a job because I didn't want to work, whatever. And I said, no, I'm trying to get a job, but it takes time. And then she said, I think I went to the interview that day, but I didn't tell her because I have this big lesson. If you want something to work out, don't tell anyone until it is a fact. It is something that you can say, oh, okay, it's mine now. So I didn't say anything. And she said, you are... you have to ask for advice to your sister. My sister didn't have a job, never worked ever in her life. She had studying. She went to. She had this practical jobs, but not paying jobs. I don't know how to say. Trainee. And she said, I said she didn't work most of her life. She had just 9 years maybe of experience, and I was at that time more than 15 years for sure. More than 15 years, yeah. 20. No, maybe more than 15 years. And she was like, and she was 40, 50. I was 35. No, 34, yeah. So, counting my age and my experience, I had a lot of more experience than her. And I said, if you're not the example, you can talk about it. If you are not the example, because you don't work, so what example are you? And my grandmother started fighting me, and I said, well, I'm telling the truth. And my sister, my oldest sister after me, she started to say that I was, you can talk with mother like that and whatever. And I said, I'm telling the truth, so why shouldn't I say what is true? Is truth is offending her? Because that's what it is. And she was, and then she started to scream at me and whatever, and she pushed me, and I was like, what? And I said, you don't push me. So I grabbed her hand, and she bited me like till I got bleeding. And that same sister there once, and she was young. My mother wanted to throw her through the window to the balcony, and I got there and I grabbed her and went to my bedroom and to save her life. And that was really painful and hurtful for me, because it didn't hurt just in a physical level. It did hurt in a deeper level. And I said, okay. So I went to my grandmother's and asked to go back there, even though I would be living hell in my grandmother's house with black magic that she would do to me for sure. As I went through to the same months ago, maybe 1 year ago. No, months ago, yes, months ago. So, but I had some healing protection, so yeah, I said, okay, let's go through this. I have to get some money to get a house and to be really independent this time. And so I did it. And after that, while I was healing, maybe 1 year after, I went to my mother's and I said, I maybe not be the perfect daughter, but I just wanted to, please forgive me if I did something wrong, if I did something that hurt you. And I did it by heart, And she said, I might not also be the perfect mother, and I'm sorry, and we make peace with each other. But that day also, I heard something that was really painful and hurtful. And I'm trying to forgive her, but it's really hard. It's really hard because she told me I was the guilty one for her being... She told me, she confessed that she wanted to give me for adoption while she was in Ukraine. That was really painful to her to hear. She considered that, but she didn't. Well, it was God's will. And she thought she could have a better life if she didn't have me. And that she was married to her, my stepdad without love. And I knew that because of me. And that she had 2 children of him because of me. But that wasn't my choice. That was her choice. Even though I realized she has sacrificed herself for me. But isn't that what a mother do? Isn't that what a mother... It was really painful for me to hear that. And while I was in the house, she wanted to get rid of me as fast as she could. So I realized when I went through this struggle that I couldn't go back there. And it would be much painful and hurtful than living in the streets. And but I had this lesson about I'm grateful for being now responsible for my own life, for my own actions, for my own choices. I know I don't have to point the finger at anyone for my own choices. I only allow people to hurt me, I only allow people to enter my life if I feel that it's aligned with me, that it's aligned with what I want, that it's aligned with what I feel. And that was a lesson. That was a lesson. And I don't blame my mother because she didn't have the greatest example. She didn't. And also she had this spiritual influence over her all her life. All her life. I wanted to help her more. I wanted to really bring that awareness, that consciousness. I wanted her to find her happiness. But I wasn't allowed to. She didn't want me. She didn't want it to be around me. She didn't want it to listen to me. Everything that I was saying, my spiritual gifts, whatever, was bullshit for her. But she was taught that it was bullshit by my grandmother because my grandmother always made us believe that God didn't exist, was all bullshit, whatever. So I cannot blame her. I only can do better than her. I only can do better than her. I can establish another values for me. I want to have a peaceful and conscient family. So I won't carry, and I will heal myself, and I'm healing myself so I don't project my own insecurities, my own hurt, my own pain, my own anger on a child that I can have. And I wanted to share this. So you guys, if you see this video, if you are in a spiritual awakening journey, if you are doing your shadow work, or if you want to do your, are you afraid, if you are afraid to do your shadow work, I mean, shadow work isn't easy, but it's really freely. You can set yourself free from all the pain, all the guilt, all the suffer, all the anger that someone projected on you or that you created based on what you learn from others. So if you want to be lighter, if you want to live and create another foundation for your new family or your current family, you have to set free from other people's projections on you and the suffer they made you feel. So you won't project those same patterns and those same suffering on your kids, on your husband. It's really important to do your inner work, okay? Thank you all.